Marcus Johnson smiled as he looked at his new home. After 5 years of saving money from his job as a computer worker, he finally bought a small house with a swimming pool in the backyard. The house was in a nice area where many different kinds of people lived. Marcus felt proud. He worked hard for everything he had. Every morning, Marcus would wake up early to swim in his pool before going to work. The cool water helped him think and plan his day. On weekends, he would clean the pool and fix things around the house. He loved taking care of his new home. One hot Saturday in July, Marcus was at the store buying food for the week. He spent more time than he planned because the store was crowded. When he came home and walked to his backyard to put away some garden tools, he stopped in shock. There was a woman he had never seen before swimming in his pool. The woman had blonde hair and looked about 40 years old. She had spread her towel on Marcus's chair and was using his pool floats. She acted like she owned the place. Marcus put down his tools and walked closer to the pool. "Excuse me," he said in a polite voice. "Can I help you?" The woman looked up, surprised. When she saw Marcus, her face changed. She frowned and sat up straight. "Who are you?" she asked in a sharp voice. "I'm Marcus Johnson. This is my house and my pool," Marcus explained calmly. "May I ask who you are and why you're swimming in my pool?" The woman looked at Marcus with doubt in her eyes. "You live here, in this house?" "Yes, I bought it 3 months ago," Marcus said. He was starting to feel uncomfortable with the way she was looking at him. "Well," the woman said as she slowly got out of the pool, "I live in the building across the street. I thought this pool was for everyone in the neighborhood to use." Marcus shook his head. "No, this is private property. It's not a public pool." The woman gathered her things, moving very slowly. She looked Marcus up and down. "It's just that people like you don't usually own houses in this area," she said with a cold smile. "I'm surprised." Marcus felt his stomach tighten at her words. He knew exactly what she meant by "people like you," but he kept his voice steady. "Well, I do own this house, and while I welcome guests who are invited, I don't appreciate people using my pool without permission." "My name is Helen Winters," the woman said, not sounding sorry at all. "I've lived in this neighborhood for 15 years. I know everyone here." She said this like it was supposed to impress Marcus. "Nice to meet you, Helen," Marcus said, though it wasn't nice at all. "Now that we know each other, please don't use my pool again unless I invite you." Helen picked up her bag and walked toward the gate. "We'll see about that," she said under her breath, but loud enough for Marcus to hear. "This neighborhood has gone downhill lately." After she left, Marcus sat down in one of his pool chairs. His happy mood was gone. He had dealt with people like Helen before, people who couldn't believe a black man could own a nice home in a good neighborhood. He had hoped things would be different here. Marcus looked around at his beautiful backyard and pool. He had worked too hard to let someone like Helen ruin this for him. He decided to be extra careful about locking his gate from now on. But something told him that Helen would be back, and that his problems with her were just beginning. A week passed, and Marcus hoped that his problem with Helen was over. He put up a small sign on his gate that said "private property" and added a better lock. He felt good about fixing the problem. On Saturday morning, Marcus was making coffee in his kitchen. He looked out his window at his pool and stopped with the coffee pot in his hand. Helen was back. But this time, she was not alone. She had brought another woman with her. They were both in swimsuits, with drinks and snacks, acting like they were at a public beach. Marcus put down his coffee and took a deep breath. He didn't want trouble, but this was his home. He walked outside to his pool area. "Excuse me, Helen," he said, standing by the pool. "I thought I made it clear last week that this is my private pool." Helen looked up from her magazine and smiled a fake smile. "Oh, Marcus, I was just showing my friend Lisa your lovely pool. You don't mind, do you? It's such a hot day." Marcus crossed his arms. "Actually, I do mind. I didn't give you permission to use my pool. This is my home, not a public place. Lisa, Helen's friend, looked uncomfortable. She started to gather her things. But Helen didn't move. Do you know how long I've lived in this neighborhood? Helen asked, her voice getting louder. 15 years. I know the people who owned this house before you. They never had a problem with neighbors using the pool. The house was empty for 6 months before I bought it, Marcus said. And even if the old owners let you swim here, I'm the owner now, and these are my rules. Helen's face turned red. How did you even afford this place? This is a good neighborhood. Houses here are expensive. Marcus felt his anger rising, but kept his voice calm. I worked hard and saved my money. I'm a computer programmer. I can afford my home. Not that it's any of your business. Computer programmer. Helen laughed and looked at her friend. Sure you are. People like you don't usually. People like me. Marcus interrupted. What exactly do you mean by that, Helen? Helen stood up now. You know exactly what I mean. This neighborhood used to be safe and clean. Now all kinds of people are moving in. Lisa pulled on Helen's arm. Helen, let's go. This is his house. No, Helen shouted. She pointed her finger at Marcus. I'm going to call the police. You're threatening me. Marcus couldn't believe what he was hearing. I'm asking you to leave my private property. How is that threatening you? Helen took out her phone. I'm calling the police. I don't feel safe. Marcus knew how this could go. He'd seen too many news stories about black men who had the police called on them for no reason. Some of those stories ended badly. Fine. Call them, Marcus said calmly. This is my house. I have all the papers to prove it. While Helen made her call, saying there was a threatening man at her neighbor's house, Lisa looked embarrassed. She whispered, I'm sorry, to Marcus and left quickly. 20 minutes later, 2 police officers arrived. Marcus waited on his front porch with his house papers and ID ready. He was nervous but knew he had done nothing wrong. Someone called about a disturbance. The first officer asked. Helen rushed over from where she had been waiting. This man threatened me when I was just using the neighborhood pool. The second officer looked confused. Neighborhood pool? I thought this was a private residence. It is, Marcus said. This is my house and my pool. I have my deed right here. Helen keeps coming into my yard and using my pool without permission. The officers looked at Marcus's papers. Then they looked at Helen, who was still talking about how she should be allowed to use the pool because she'd lived in the neighborhood longer. Ma'am, the first officer said to Helen, this is private property. If the owner asks you to leave, you need to leave. Helen couldn't believe it. But he doesn't belong here. Do you know how much these houses cost? The officers looked uncomfortable now. They understood what was really happening. Ma'am, the second officer said firmly, you need to go home now. And don't come back unless you're invited. As the police walked Helen out, Marcus sat down on his porch steps. He was glad the officers believed him, but he knew this wasn't over. Helen would be back. After the police made Helen leave, Marcus thought about what to do next. He called his friend James, who was a lawyer. James listened to the whole story and gave Marcus some advice. You need to protect yourself, James said. Get cameras for your yard. Keep a record of everything she does. If she comes back, you'll have proof. The next day, Marcus bought 2 cameras and put them up. One camera pointed at his gate, and one showed the whole pool area. He also bought a better lock for his gate and made his fence taller. For 2 weeks, everything was quiet. Marcus began to relax. Maybe Helen had finally learned her lesson. He invited some friends from work to swim on Saturday. They had a good time, cooking food on the grill and playing music. His neighbors on both sides came over too. They were nice people who were happy to have Marcus in the neighborhood. But on Sunday morning, Marcus woke up to the sound of splashing. He looked at his phone, which showed the video from his pool cameras. His heart sank. Helen was back again. And this time, she had 4 friends with her. Marcus went outside. He was tired of this. Helen, you are on private property. You need to leave now. Helen and her friends looked up. They were drinking wine and had a table full of food. We're just having a small party, Helen said. Don't be so selfish. There's plenty of room. This is not about room, Marcus said. This is my home. I didn't invite you here. One of Helen's friends, a man with gray hair, stood up. Do we have a problem here? He asked in a way that was meant to scare Marcus. Yes, we have a problem, Marcus said. You are all trespassing. Trespassing? The man laughed. We're just using the pool. What's the big deal? Marcus took out his phone. I'm calling the police. Again. And this time, I'm pressing charges for trespassing. Helen jumped up. Don't you dare. We have every right to be here. No, you don't, Marcus said. And I have you on video breaking into my yard. The cameras recorded everything. Helen looked up and saw the cameras for the first time. Her face changed. She looked worried. You're recording us without permission, she said. That's against the law. No, it's not, Marcus said. This is my property. I can have security cameras on my own house. He started to call the police. The gray-haired man grabbed Helen's arm. Let's go, he said. This isn't worth the trouble. Helen looked like she wanted to argue more, but her friends were already packing up their things. They knew they were wrong. This isn't over, Helen said as she left. You think you're so smart with your cameras and your fancy job. But I've lived here longer than you, and I have friends in this town. Important friends. After they left, Marcus called James again and told him what happened. Save that video, James said, and call the police anyway. Make a report even though they left. We need to start a paper trail. So Marcus called the police and showed them the video when they came. The officers were the same ones from before. They looked angry when they saw the video. She broke your lock to get in, one officer asked. That's breaking and entering. Do you want to press charges? Marcus thought about it. He didn't want more trouble, but he also knew that Helen wouldn't stop unless something serious happened. Yes, he said. I want to press charges, and I want a restraining order. The police took his statement and the video. They said they would talk to Helen, and that Marcus should come to the station the next day to fill out papers for a restraining order. As Marcus watched the police leave, he felt both better and worse. He was standing up for himself, but he was sad that he had to do this. He had been so happy when he bought this house. Now there was all this stress and anger. His phone rang. It was his mother, calling for their weekly chat. Marcus didn't want to worry her, but he needed to talk to someone who understood. Mom, he said when he answered, you won't believe what's been happening at my new house. The next morning, Marcus went to the police station to file papers for a restraining order against Helen. The officer at the desk was helpful and showed Marcus how to fill out all the forms. Marcus gave them copies of his videos showing Helen breaking into his yard. We'll need to have a court hearing, the officer explained. The judge will decide if Helen needs to stay away from your property. It might take a few weeks. Marcus thanked the officer and went to work. He tried to focus on his computer job, but he kept thinking about the problems with Helen. His boss noticed that Marcus seemed worried. Everything okay, Marcus? His boss asked during lunch break. Marcus told him the whole story. His boss, Mr. Chen, was very understanding. That's terrible, Mr. Chen said. No one should have to deal with that kind of behavior. Take whatever time you need for court. Your job is safe. After work, Marcus stopped at the store to buy some groceries. As he was putting bags in his car, he heard someone call his name. He turned and saw Lisa, Helen's friend who had been at the pool that second time. Marcus, can I talk to you for a minute? Lisa asked. She looked nervous. Marcus was careful. What do you want to talk about? I want to say I'm sorry about what happened, Lisa said. Helen told me the pool was for everyone in the neighborhood. I didn't know she was lying. Why are you telling me this now? Marcus asked. Because Helen is telling everyone in the neighborhood that you threatened her and that you're dangerous, Lisa said. It's not right. I was there. You were polite even when she was being awful to you. Marcus sighed. He wasn't surprised that Helen was spreading lies. Would you be willing to tell the police what really happened? Marcus asked. Lisa looked down. I'm afraid of what Helen might do. She's friends with a lot of important people in town. But I'll think about it. When Marcus got home, he saw something that made him stop his car in the middle of the street. His beautiful pool was filled with trash. Someone had thrown garbage, dirt, and even some broken chairs into the water. And on his fence, someone had painted the words, "Go away." Marcus called the police right away. The same officers who had helped him before came quickly. They took pictures of everything and helped Marcus file another report. This is getting serious, one officer said. Destroying property is a crime. We think Helen did this, but we need proof. Marcus checked his cameras, but someone had sprayed paint on them so they couldn't record. He felt sick as he looked at his ruined pool. I don't understand why she hates me so much, Marcus said to the officer. I never did anything to her. Some people can't accept change, the officer said, or they can't accept that someone different from them can be successful. It's not about you. It's about her own problems. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He sat on his porch looking at his yard. He had worked so hard for this house. He wasn't going to let Helen drive him away. But he was tired of fighting. His phone rang. It was his sister, Letitia. Mom told me what's happening, she said. I talked to some friends. We're coming over tomorrow to help you clean up. You don't have to do that, Marcus said. Yes, we do, Letitia said firmly. Family sticks together. And I called Pastor Williams too. He knows a lot of people in your town. He's going to make some calls. For the first time in days, Marcus smiled. He wasn't alone in this fight. Thanks, sis, he said. I could really use the help. Get some sleep, Letitia said. Tomorrow, we fight back. But we're going to do it the right way. Marcus went to bed feeling better. Helen thought she could scare him away. She was about to learn that she had picked the wrong person to mess with. The next morning, Marcus woke up early to start cleaning his pool. He was just getting his tools when a truck pulled into his driveway. It was his sister Letitia, and she wasn't alone. 5 cars followed her, filled with family and friends. Told you we were coming, Letitia said, giving Marcus a big hug. Now let's get to work. By 9 o'clock, 15 people were helping clean Marcus's yard. His cousins, friends from church, and even some people he didn't know were working hard. They cleaned the pool, fixed the fence, and planted new flowers. Pastor Williams came too, bringing food and drinks for everyone. While they worked, Marcus noticed a man watching them from across the street. The man seemed interested in what they were doing. After a while, he walked over to Marcus. Hello, I'm David Thompson, the man said, holding out his hand. I live next door to Helen. Marcus shook his hand but was careful. Nice to meet you. I'm Marcus Johnson. I know who you are, David said. Helen talks about you all the time. Not good things. I'm afraid. I'm not surprised, Marcus said. David looked around at all the people working. I saw what happened to your pool. Helen came home late last night with paint on her clothes. She was with her brother and some of his friends. Marcus was surprised that David was telling him this. Why are you telling me? Because I'm tired of her behavior, David said. She's been causing trouble in this neighborhood for years. She's rude to anyone who is different from her. When my husband and I moved in 5 years ago, she tried to get everyone to sign a paper saying we weren't welcome. Did you call the police about what you saw? Marcus asked. No, David admitted. I was afraid of what she might do. But I'm not afraid anymore. I took pictures of her car and her clothes with the paint. I'm ready to give them to the police. Marcus thanked David. This was the proof he needed. Just then, a police car pulled up. Helen was in the back seat. The officers brought her over to Marcus. "We caught her trying to break into your yard again," one officer explained. "This time we have her on our camera. And we found more paint and trash in her car." Helen wouldn't look at Marcus. She kept her head down. "I'm pressing charges," Marcus said firmly, "for breaking and entering, for destroying my property, and for harassment." The officers nodded and took Helen away. David went with them to show his pictures and tell what he had seen. Pastor Williams came over to Marcus. "I made some calls last night," he said. "I talked to the mayor and some other important people in town. They all know about what's happening now. They're not going to let Helen get away with this." Marcus felt thankful for all the support, but he was still sad about everything that had happened. He looked at his pool, now clean again thanks to his friends and family. "I just wanted to enjoy my new home," he said to Pastor Williams. "I didn't want all this trouble." "I know," Pastor Williams said, "but sometimes standing up for what's right causes trouble. The important thing is how we respond to it." By the end of the day, Marcus's yard looked better than ever. His pool was clean, his fence was fixed, and he had new security cameras that couldn't be sprayed with paint. As everyone was leaving, Letitia pulled Marcus aside. "I had an idea," she said. "All these people came to help you today. Why not invite them back for a proper pool party? Show Helen and anyone who thinks like her that you're here to stay and that you have a community behind you." Marcus smiled. "That's a great idea. Let's do it next weekend." For the first time since the problems with Helen started, Marcus felt hopeful. He wasn't fighting alone anymore. He had friends, family, and even neighbors like David on his side. Helen thought she could scare him away, but instead, she had helped him find his community. The week after the big cleanup was busy for Marcus. He went to court for the restraining order against Helen. He brought his videos, police reports, and pictures of the damage to his pool. David, his new neighbor friend, came too. David showed the judge his pictures of Helen with paint on her clothes. The judge listened carefully to everything. Helen was there with a lawyer. She tried to say that Marcus was the one causing trouble, not her. But when the judge saw all the proof, he didn't believe Helen. "Mrs. Winters," the judge said in a stern voice, "the evidence clearly shows that you have been harassing Mr. Johnson. I am granting this restraining order. You must stay at least 100 feet away from Mr. Johnson and his property at all times. If you break this order, you will be arrested." Helen's face turned red with anger, but she couldn't say anything. Her lawyer whispered to her, and she just nodded. After court, Marcus felt a huge weight lift off his shoulders. Now Helen couldn't legally come near his house. The police also told him that they were still looking into charging Helen with breaking and entering and property damage. When Saturday came, Marcus was excited about the pool party. He spent the morning setting up tables, chairs, and a big grill. Letitia came early to help decorate. She hung colorful lights around the yard and put up a big sign that said, "Welcome to the neighborhood community pool party." "Are you sure about that sign?" Marcus asked. "It's not really a community pool." Letitia smiled. "That's the point. You're welcoming the real community, people who respect each other, not people like Helen." By 2 o'clock, people started arriving. Marcus's family came, of course, but so did many neighbors. David and his husband brought a big cake. An older couple from down the street brought homemade lemonade. A family with 3 small children came with pool toys. Marcus was surprised when Lisa, Helen's former friend, showed up. She looked nervous. "I hope it's okay that I came," Lisa said. "David told me about the party." "Everyone who is respectful is welcome," Marcus said. He meant it. The party was going great. Children were playing in the pool, adults were talking and laughing, and the food was delicious. Then Marcus noticed a police car drive slowly past his house. He tensed up, thinking there was trouble. But the police car just stopped briefly. The officer inside waved at Marcus, then drove away. He was just checking to make sure everything was okay, and that Helen wasn't causing problems. As the afternoon went on, more neighbors came. Some just stopped by for a few minutes to meet Marcus. Others stayed for hours. By sunset, nearly 30 people were in Marcus's yard. One of the older neighbors, Mrs. Rivera, came up to Marcus while he was grilling hamburgers. "I've lived here for 25 years, she said. "Helen has chased away 3 families with her nastiness. But you didn't run. You stood up to her. And now look at this." She waved her hand at all the people enjoying themselves. "This is what our neighborhood should be like." Marcus looked around at everyone having fun in his pool and yard. Children were splashing in the water. Adults were talking and laughing. Nobody was worried about what color anyone was or where they came from. This was what community should be. "I had a different idea when I bought this house," Marcus told Mrs. Rivera. "I thought I'd have quiet weekends by the pool, maybe with just a few friends sometimes. But this," he looked around again, "this is better than what I imagined." "Sometimes the best things aren't what we plan," Mrs. Rivera said with a smile. As the sun began to set, Marcus brought out a stack of large towels for people using the pool. He turned on the colorful lights Letitia had put up. The yard looked magical with the lights reflecting on the water. Looking around at all these people who had come together to support him, Marcus knew he had found more than just a house. He had found a home and a community, and that was worth fighting for. The pool party was such a success that people asked Marcus if he would do it again. The next weekend, he had another party. This time, even more neighbors came. It seemed like the whole street wanted to be there. Marcus noticed something interesting. The parties were bringing different people together who had never talked before. The older people were talking to the young families. People who spoke different languages were making friends. Children were playing together, no matter what they looked like. 2 weeks after the first party, Marcus was shopping at the grocery store when he ran into the town's mayor, Mrs. Thompson. "Mr. Johnson," the mayor said with a smile, "I've heard a lot about you and your pool parties." Marcus was surprised. "You have?" "Yes," the mayor said. "Pastor Williams is an old friend of mine. He told me about the trouble you had with Helen Winters and about how you're bringing the neighborhood together now." "I'm just trying to be a good neighbor," Marcus said. "Well, you're doing more than that," the mayor said. "Our town has had some problems with people not getting along. What you're doing, bringing people together, that's exactly what we need more of." The mayor asked if she could come to the next pool party. Marcus said yes, of course. When Marcus got home, he had an idea. If his pool parties were helping people come together, maybe he could do more. He called David, who knew many people in the neighborhood. "I want to start a real community group," Marcus explained. "Not just parties, but maybe we could help clean up the park or start a garden that everyone can use." "That's a great idea," David said. "I know at least 10 people who would join right away." Over the next few days, Marcus and David made plans. They decided to call their group Neighborhood Unity. They made flyers to put up around town and created a simple website where people could sign up to help with projects. The next pool party was the biggest yet. The mayor came as promised. She brought a newspaper reporter with her. The reporter took pictures and asked Marcus questions about his new community group. "I just want everyone to feel welcome here," Marcus told the reporter. "This town is our home. We should all work together to make it better." The story appeared in the newspaper the next day. The headline said, "Local man turns discrimination into community action." There was a big picture of Marcus and all his neighbors at the pool party. After the newspaper story, something amazing happened. People from other parts of town started calling Marcus. They wanted to start similar groups in their neighborhoods. A woman from the other side of town asked if Marcus would help her organize a cleanup day at the old playground. In just 1 month, Marcus went from being the new guy in town to being a community leader. People looked up to him. They trusted him. And it all started because he stood up to Helen and refused to be pushed around. Speaking of Helen, she was having her own problems. After Marcus got the restraining order, More people came forward with stories about her bad behavior. The town council received so many complaints that they started an investigation. Helen's brother, who had helped damage Marcus's pool, lost his job with the town's parks department. One day, Marcus saw moving trucks at Helen's apartment building. David called him later to confirm what he suspected. "She's leaving town," David said. "Her landlord asked her to move out after all the trouble. She's going to live with her sister in another state." Marcus didn't feel happy about Helen's problems. He just felt relieved that the trouble was over. That night, he sat by his pool, looking at the peaceful water. He thought about how sometimes bad things can lead to good things. If Helen hadn't caused all that trouble, Marcus might never have met his neighbors. He might never have started the community group that was now helping so many people. Marcus smiled as he looked around his yard. This was exactly where he belonged. 6 months had passed since Helen moved away. Marcus's neighborhood unity group was now a big success. They had cleaned up the old park, started a community garden, and helped elderly neighbors with yard work. Every weekend, different families hosted small get-togethers. But everyone's favorite was still the pool parties at Marcus's house. One hot Saturday in July, exactly 1 year after Marcus had first caught Helen using his pool, he was hosting the biggest party yet. The mayor had declared it Community Unity Day for the whole town. People from all parts of town were coming to celebrate at different parks and community centers. Marcus's backyard was one of the main meeting spots. He had worked all week to get ready. The pool was clean and sparkling. Colorful balloons and flags hung around the fence. 3 big grills were set up for cooking food. "I can't believe how many people are here," Letitia said as she helped Marcus set up tables. "You've become famous, little brother." Marcus laughed. "Not famous. I just wanted to be a good neighbor." By noon, more than 50 people filled Marcus's yard. Children splashed in the pool. Adults talked and laughed. Music played. The smell of barbecue filled the air. David came over with a tall man in a business suit. "Marcus, this is Mr. Garcia from the town planning office," David said. "He has some news for you." Mr. Garcia shook Marcus's hand. "Mr. Johnson, I've heard a lot about what you've done for this community. The mayor asked me to come personally to tell you some good news." Marcus was curious. "What news?" "The town council has voted to build a public pool in the empty lot near the park," Mr. Garcia said. "And they want to name it after you, the Marcus Johnson Community Pool." Marcus was shocked. "Name it after me? But why?" "Because you showed this town what community really means," Mr. Garcia explained. "When you faced discrimination, you didn't fight back with anger. You responded by bringing people together. That's the kind of example we want to set." Marcus didn't know what to say. He felt proud but also humble. "I don't need my name on a pool," he said, "but I'm happy there will be a place where everyone can swim and feel welcome." Later that afternoon, the mayor made the announcement to everyone at the party. People cheered and clapped. An older man who lived down the street stood up to speak. "I've lived in this town for 60 years, he said. "I've seen a lot of changes, some good, some bad. But what Marcus has done, turning hate into love and community, that's something special. I'm proud to be his neighbor." People kept coming up to congratulate Marcus. A reporter from a big city newspaper took his picture. A local TV station wanted to interview him. But all Marcus really cared about was seeing everyone having a good time together. As the sun began to set, Marcus found a quiet moment to sit alone by his pool. He watched the children playing in the water, their parents talking and laughing nearby. He thought about how far things had come in just 1 year. Marcus remembered the day he had first confronted Helen. He had felt so alone then, one man trying to protect his home. Now he had a whole community of friends. His simple stand against one person's racism had turned into something much bigger. His phone buzzed with a text message. It was from James, his lawyer friend who had helped him with the restraining order against Helen. "Just saw you on the local news," the message said. "So proud of you. You didn't just defend your pool. You built a bridge for your whole community." Marcus smiled. That was exactly what had happened. He had wanted to protect what was his, but he ended up creating something that belonged to everyone. A sense of unity and respect that was more valuable than any swimming pool. He looked up at the evening sky, feeling thankful. Sometimes the worst problems lead to the best solutions, and sometimes standing up for yourself means standing up for everyone. 2 years had passed since Helen first used Marcus's pool without permission. It was a warm spring day, and Marcus stood in front of a large crowd. They were all gathered for the grand opening of the new Marcus Johnson Community Pool. The pool was beautiful, much bigger than Marcus's backyard pool. It had a shallow area for small children, a deep end for swimming, and even a small water slide. Around the pool were tables, chairs, and shade trees. A large sign at the entrance showed the pool's name in bright, friendly letters. "I never expected anything like this," Marcus said to the crowd. "When I bought my house 2 years ago, all I wanted was a quiet place to live and a pool to relax in after work." Everyone laughed, knowing the story of how things had turned out so differently. "But sometimes life gives you challenges that turn into gifts," Marcus continued. "The problems I faced helped me meet all of you, and together, we've built something special in this town." The mayor stood up to cut the ribbon across the pool entrance. "This pool is more than just a place to swim," she said. "It's a symbol of what can happen when people stand up against hate and work together. Everyone is welcome here, no matter what they look like, where they come from, or how much money they have." As the ribbon was cut, children ran excitedly toward the water. Parents followed more slowly, carrying towels and sunscreen. Marcus watched with a happy heart as the community pool came to life. David and his husband walked up to Marcus. "Your pool parties were great," David said. "But this is something else. Now everyone has a place to go." Marcus nodded. "That's what matters most. No one should feel unwelcome or excluded." Later that day, as people enjoyed the new pool, Marcus noticed a familiar face. It was Lisa, Helen's old friend who had apologized to him long ago. She was watching her children play in the water. "Lisa," Marcus said as he walked over to her, "it's good to see you here." "I wouldn't miss it," Lisa said. "My kids have been counting down the days until the pool opened." She paused, looking a bit uncomfortable. "I heard from my cousin that Helen moved again. She's living in another state now. I hope she's doing okay," Marcus said honestly. He didn't wish bad things for Helen, even after everything she had done. "She's the same as always," Lisa said with a sad smile. "Still angry, still causing problems. But I learned something important from watching you, Marcus. When someone is being hateful, you don't have to hate them back. You can choose a better way." Marcus looked around at all the different people enjoying the pool together. "That's what this is all about," he said. "Choosing a better way." As the afternoon went on, Marcus walked around the new community pool. He talked with neighbors, helped little kids with their swimming, and even jumped in the water himself for a quick swim. Everyone wanted to thank him, but Marcus kept saying the same thing. This was a community effort. We all did this together. When the sun began to set, most families started to head home. Marcus stayed to help the pool staff clean up after the big opening day. As he picked up towels and trash, he thought about how far things had come. 2 years ago, he had stood alone in his backyard, asking Helen to leave his private pool. Today, he stood in a public pool named after him, where everyone was welcome. His phone rang. It was his mother. "I saw the news coverage of the pool opening," she said proudly. "Your father would have been so proud of you, Marcus." "Thanks, Mom," Marcus said, his eyes getting a little wet. "I wish he could have seen it." "Oh, he sees it," his mother said softly. "And you know what he always told you. When they go low, you go high." Marcus smiled at his mother's words. That's exactly what he had done. When faced with hatred and racism, he hadn't sunk to that level. He had risen above it and lifted his whole community with him. As Marcus locked up the community pool gate that night, he knew that this was just the beginning. The pool was more than just a place to swim. It was a reminder that one person standing up for what's right can change an entire community for the better.